This is TWiT.
The bookends are Netscape and the iPhone. Why did you choose those and not, say, like Internet Explorer and Google?
Yeah. Well, I'll take the second part first because it's the easiest one to answer. The modern technology world that we live in, if you didn't at least explain how we got social and mobile, then I didn't think that people would be informed about how we got to the now. The reason I started with Netscape, there's many reasons. But again, because I remember Netscape going public. I was one of those nerdy kids that watched the nightly news every day at 6:30. And I can remember vaguely, but I can remember that led the news that night, that there was this company that did something called an IPO. And it was worth billions of dollars, and people seemed to think that this was really crazy and unusual and weird. And one of the things that I hope I captured in the book is we're used to today this entrepreneurial culture. This, you can 20-year-olds go to Silicon Valley to strike it rich and be worth billions of dollars. This was not. This is a recent thing. In the 80s, I'm a kid of the 80s. In the 70s, 80s, into the 90s, you wanted to be a rock star. You wanted to go on Wall Street if you wanted to get rich. This idea that you could create a company and it could be a thing. I feel like in my childhood, there weren't new companies invented all the time either. So the fact that Netscape, you can argue, is the first .com. It was the first real company to be an internet company. The IPO was the IPO heard around the world. Marc Andreessen has a quote that's in the book where he said when he went out to Silicon Valley in 93, or I think it was early 94, actually, he thought it was dead. He thought he had missed it. The PC boom was over. Of course, he was the one that made Netscape happen, made that IPO heard around the world happen. So I think that we have to start there if we're talking about the companies and the people that were going to bring the internet into our lives. I've said many times I feel like the book could have been called "How the Internet Happened to Us" as well.
Yeah, I mean, that is a good point, because of course the internet existed long before Netscape, but it wasn't for us. It wasn't personal. It wasn't navigable as easily, and even during the time of Netscape, it really wasn't. So what? Talk a little bit. Like, Netscape was already known; they'd been around for only 16 months when they IPO'd, but they were known. Talk a little bit about that time when they were about their IPO.
It is kind of interesting. Actually, we should also say that the Internet History Podcast was started as a process of researching this book, because I was getting these great interviews and I thought, well, I'll sit on this for 4 years and 2 sentences that guy told me will make it into the book. So by the way, if you like this book, there are almost 200 episodes of the primary source interviews. And I started with 5 of the 6 guys that were recruited from University of Illinois to go out and create Netscape. It is surprising to me how much they had a lot of hype at a time where there wasn't a lot of hype for technology. This is 94 into 95. I guess we can credit Roseanne Sino that I've had subsequently on the Internet History Podcast. She was a PR guru that Jim Clark brought over from Silicon Graphics when he and Marc Andreessen started Netscape. But I also think that it was this it was Jim Clark being a superstar. Jim Clark is famous for being one of the few and possibly the only person still to have founded $3 billion companies. He gets hooked up with Marc Andreessen. Marc Andreessen is this not superstar, but he was marketed as this whiz kid nerd superstar. He was in People Magazine's Most Interesting People. I discovered that researching the book in 94 or 95. So yeah, they were hyping this up as a new thing. And then I think that the thing that made Netscape, the hype around Netscape, really, really take off. And I talked to a lot of people, Wall Street people from the time about this, is that if you think about the landscape in 94, 95, it's hard to visualize this today, but there was one game in town and it was Microsoft. Microsoft had slewn slew all of its rivals, and you cannot. It's impossible if you weren't there to realize how much they were astride the technology industry, and there was nobody else. And if anyone else came up, they were going to kill. And so the promise of Netscape from day one was they were going to do to Microsoft what Microsoft had done to the entire technology industry, that they were going to be a platform play, that Microsoft was this platform first with DOS and then with Windows, that if everybody in technology had to either be on, pay a toll to Bill Gates to be on, or what have you. And so by popularizing and mainstreaming the web browser, the thinking went, would be a platform and a software platform that would rival what Microsoft had achieved with Windows. And Microsoft pioneered things like doing plugins and things like that because they wanted to be this platform play. And so I think a lot of the hype was, if again Silicon Valley and the tech investing world in general had been sort of in a lull, and all anyone could think of is, oh man, you missed investing in the Microsoft IPO in 1986. Well, here's your second chance. And so I think that was a lot of what it was, is everyone saw that this was the second Microsoft.